Hello and welcome to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon, and in this video I'll be taking a look at the new Gnome team for Blood Bowl. Before I get into it though, please do like, share, subscribe and check out the Patreon as well to support me doing more of this type of content. Gnomes in Warhammer have been a thing in the past. They did exist back in, well, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. We had some rules for gnomes in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay book, I believe, off the top of my head. I don't actually own that book anymore, I need to get hold of it. But Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay did have rules for gnomes, among many other rules for all sorts of sort of British folklore creatures and whatnot, fairies and stuff too. Gnomes did exist in the lore though, so this is not a new thing, but hats off to Games Workshop for bringing them back into the fold. They've never been a Blood Bowl team, they've never been an army in Warhammer Fantasy either, but they are here in all their glory as a new Blood Bowl playable team, and boy do they look awesome. We're going to take a look at the miniatures in a second, but first, yeah, it's just so refreshing and cool to see an old race from back in the day released in Blood Bowl. And I think what this does as well is quite exciting is we've got a new Stunty team as well. So as well as goblins, halflings, snotlings, we've now got gnomes officially. So 4 proper Stunty teams to have a full Stunty league if you'd really like to. Of course, you can count skinks in that equation as well if you had an all skink team too. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but let's have a look at the models quickly for the gnomes. Now, they are your typical sort of Gnomeo and Juliet aesthetic. These guys are the sort of typical little guys that you'd find on an English lawn back in the 80s or even before. Little pipes and beards and whatnot. I guess aesthetically they look like a kind of hybrid between a halfling and a dwarf. They're kind of the size of a halfling, but they've got the beards of dwarves and whatnot. Little pointy elfin ears and lots of woodland creatures attached to them as well, which is just awesome. And I'm not going to read the whole article, but there is a little bit of lore in there as well. It says that they are the actual arch enemies of halflings. So these guys hate halflings. So I'm interested to see how they sort of compare to the halfling roster. We haven't actually had the rules released for these guys yet, apart from a couple of like drip-fed bits. So I'm just going to kind of speculate what they are. But let's have a look at the box now to start with. Now it looks like predominantly you get a bunch of gnome linemen in here. These are the guys with the little punch daggers and the beards and the pipes and whatnot, with the little red pointy hats. I think these are all gnome linemen. Now, in changing the subject entirely, if you've ever played Fumble is a free like online Java client version of Blood Bowl that you can play. It's really, really awesome. It's top down. It's very cute little pixels and stuff. There is actually a gnome team and a gnome roster that was sort of created by the community, which I'm going to draw up here and see if it is going to be similar to the rules that they've got here. I don't think it will be, but I think there will be some crossover here. So gnomes in this list, they were kind of human strength. So they had a higher strength, strength 3, low armor, but they're also stunty. So a strength 3 player with stunty is a really, really interesting thing. So they are much more squishy and dodgy, but also a little bit stronger and better at blocking than your halflings and whatnot, if you want to compare them to that. Will these guys be strength 3 with stunty? Probably not. I reckon they'll be strength 2 because the models just aren't big enough. They're still pretty small. But that's just me rambling on a side note there. So anyway, you've got a bunch of linemen. You've got 2 foxes, which are awesome. These guys, I think, are going to be your runner equivalents. They're going to be very, very fast, mobile units, should I say, players, positionals that will score your touchdowns, I imagine. One of them's actually got a ball in the mouth there, which is pretty cool. The other one, and there are rules, sort of like a little bit of highlight on the rules here for the Beastmaster. Is it Beastmaster? Yeah, Beastmasters. These guys come with a goose with a Blood Bowl helmet on it. Geese are terrifying, they really are, and a badger as well. Quintessential British badger there as well. So it's 2 models on one base. You can either go for a goose or a badger, and I think they both count as the same positional. These are kind of like your blockers, I believe. And they're going to come with guard, which is pretty awesome. The linemen, by the way, just moving back on that, come with jump up and wrestle, which is great. 2 great skills that actually stack really well together, because once you've wrestled someone down to the ground, you get jump up to actually get back up again and get moving. So these guys are much more mobile than other stunty teams by the looks of it, except for maybe skinks. You've then got another thing that I think is probably a positional. There is what looks to be a female-looking gnome here holding 2 balls. She's got 1 ball which looks real behind her back, and she's got 1 ball in front of her that's bursting into what looks like blue flames. And this, I think, is going to be some sort of illusionary trick sort of skill that she's going to have, like a sort of fake ball kind of thing, which is pretty cool. And yeah, just awesome. Also, they've got a new treeman as well. The treeman in question here looks pretty awesome. It is bigger and chunkier looking, if you ask me. I don't know if it's going to be different stats-wise to the one that you get for your wood elves and your halflings, but it's certainly interesting. It'd be nice if it did have slightly different rules to the other treeman, maybe. So that's your sort of gnomes. Obviously, if you look at the sort of roster that I've brought up here from Secret League, which is on Fumble, these guys, like I said, sort of start with Stunty but strength 3. Be interesting to see if they go with this kind of vibe. Probably not, because they've got jump up and wrestle. They'd be very expensive otherwise. But you can see they've got the big guy here is replaced by the tree man. I think the sort of runner that you've got on this list here is replaced by the fox. It's similar, but it's certainly not the same. I don't think they've looked at this Secret League roster and gone, yeah, let's copy that. And it's pretty different by the looks of it. But I'll be really, really interested to see the rules for these guys. And I'd love to see them on the table facing off against the halfling team at some point soon anyway. Also worth mentioning, there is a Gnome official star player also up on the Warhammer community now as well. This guy has a fishing rod attached to a ball here. Really funny looking miniature. A gnome with a big fishing rod with a rope attached and a ball on the end. And it sounds like the sort of skill that this guy gets here, catch of the day, once per half, if Rodney is standing and begins his activation within 3 squares of a ball, which is on the ground, he may roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, nothing happens. On a 3+, though, Rodney immediately gains possession of the ball. Pretty damn awesome. So you can just snatch the ball away up to 3 squares away from you. Pretty cool. He also comes with Stunty, sidestep, and jump up as well. So really, really good. And you can hire him for halfling teams as well by the looks of it, which is strange considering they're supposed to be enemies. This was just a quick video just to highlight my excitement for the gnomes. If you enjoyed that though, please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll be back with another video real soon. Peace out.